What's up, guys? It's Jim with Awakened TCG, bringing you guys another video today. And today we're going to be talking about more OP09 stuff. This time talking about probably, I'm not even going to say probably, definitely the least anticipated leader of OP09, because basically all of their support already got revealed just all at once. So we're going to go over that, and we're going to talk about if this leader is even going to be worth talking about in the future. Is this leader going to be good, bad? That's what we're going to talk about today. But anyways, the leader, as you can see on screen right now, is going to be Lim. Lim, if you don't know, is from the One Piece Odyssey game. It is not a game I played myself, but I heard mixed reviews on it. So if you are interested, I think it's a decent game if you really love One Piece, I don't think it would hurt to go ahead and try it out, but we're not here to talk about the video game. We are here to talk about this leader. So if you do not know what this leader is, she is a 4 life, 5,000 power, green and purple leader that reads, your characters interplay as rested. So any character you play is going to be rested. This means like activate main, rest this card effects like you're never going to be using in this deck. It's a very strange and kind of punishing text to have on a leader. But that is not all. It is going to be activate main once per turn. You may rest 3 Dawn. Set up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as rested, so this is immediately going to give you a free ramp. Then play a 5 cost or lower Odyssey type character from your hand. So very similar to a lot of the decks in this game that play out of 5 cost, cheat out of 5 cost. They all have their own stipulations. Usually it's that the leader can attack with stuff like Iceberg and Vegapunk. This time around, it is a dual color leader that is going to have the downside of playing them as rested, as we talked about earlier, which honestly I think is better than playing them or not being able to attack with your leader, because that is a big thing in this game. And not to mention, not only does it play them out for 3 Dawn, it also allows you to ramp one at the same time, right? Which is very, very strong. Not obviously on paper the best ability ever. It is completely reliant on how good these 5 cost or lower Odyssey characters are. But that's why I think it is now worth talking about, because I'm almost positive the majority of them are revealed. So let's go and look at them on this website. By the way, this is One Piece Top Decks in the leaks section. So shout out to them for making this easy to consume. But first up here, we have 2 cards. We have our SR 9 cost here. This is Audio. This is another character from One Piece Odyssey. He's one of the main characters in that story. It's going to be a 9 cost, 9,000 power Odyssey type character. So obviously not playable off of your leader effect, but probably a large card that this deck needed. It's going to read on play. If your leader has the Odyssey type, set up to 3 of your Dawn active. So basically, you can count this as a 6 cost. Obviously, you need 9 Dawn to play it, but after you play it, you will have 3 Dawn remaining still, which is like you played a 6/9. And he's also going to read, when your opponent's attack, on your opponent's attack once per turn, you can rest 1 of your Dawn, up to 1 of your leader or characters gains 2,000 power for the battle. So this is not free, right? Because it's not giving you a free 2K, but it is allowing you to have the option to have an extra 2K if you just leave 1 Dawn up, which, just having the option to do that is never bad. So not a bad card. I don't think this is this is not a meta-defining card. Obviously, it's good because we're already ramping into stuff. So we can get the 9 Dawn quicker than a lot of decks can. We don't even have to pitch a card out of hand or anything like that. Lim just kind of does it for free, which is really nice. A lot of the decks that ramp with their leader effect have a really, really bad drawback. This one, not as much. So this is definitely going to be played in this deck. I don't think there's really any debate there. But right here we have Monkey D. Luffy. Is obviously this 5 cost that we're looking for. Remember, this is going to be played rested. And he's going to read on play. If you have 2 or more rested characters, you can rest up to 1 of your opponent's cost 6 or lower characters, or up to 1 Dawn card. So very, very decent card, I think. Pretty generically strong. You may say, okay, getting 2 rested characters might be a little hard. But you have to realize this character is going to count itself because it's going to come into play rested, which means you only need 1 more character on board that's rested. So as soon as you play Luffy, you can rest a 6 or less, which is really big. or a Dawn card, depending on the deck you are playing against. Like, I think the best example probably being Bonnie. Like, they leave a Dawn up for their leader effect. But pretty strong. I really do like this card. But again, not a card that's going to make this archetype very powerful. At the moment, definitely going to need more support. And as we scroll up here, we are now getting into this whole host of Odyssey cards that got revealed all at once. I'm honestly not sure where these got revealed. They aren't on the official website or anything like that. But we do have them now, and we are going to go over them. Right here, first up, we have Sakazuki on the bottom here. He's going to be an Odyssey card. Unfortunately, he's a 6 cost, so not playable off of leader effect. And no counter, so 6/7, very similar to the original Black Sakazuki. And he's going to read on play. If you have 2 or more rested characters in play, same thing as Luffy, he will count himself. KO up to one of your opponents cost 5 or lower characters. So, not a bad card, honestly. Playing a 6/7 that just generically KOs any 5, pretty decent. Again, another card I think's okay, but not going to make this archetype great. You can't even play it off leader effect, which is a bit unfortunate. Next up here, though, we have Don Quixote do Flamingo. Is going to be a 5/6 with 1,000 counter and blocker. Very, very strong. This is an Odyssey type card, which means it is playable off leader effect. It's going to read, end of your turn, if you have 2 or more rested characters in play, set this character as active. So this card is really good, I think, because obviously this is coming into play rested. What's the point of playing a blocker that's rested? It is going to restand itself pretty much every time, unless you have no other cards on board, which usually won't happen. But I even think this card's good in other decks. Like, if you're playing Gerpel Dofi, you can just attack with this blocker and it restands itself, right? Because you're usually having 1 more rested character on board, whether it's maybe like a Baby 5 Searcher, any other card you attacked with. This is just a blocker that can swing and never be punished for it. So, really, really good card, and I think a step in the right direction for this archetype, for sure. Next up here, we have Trafalgar Law is a 3 cost, 4,000 power Odyssey character once again with 1,000 counter. He's going to read on play, you may return 1 of your characters to your hand. So very similar to a lot of Law cards. And then after that, you can play up to 1 cost 3 or lower Odyssey type character other than Trafalgar Law from your hand. So, interesting. Only issue, right? We have not seen any 3 costs so far that are worth playing off this effect. Ideally, you'd want to bring back like a 1 cost Searcher off this to convert it into a 3 cost. That would be really nice. Because playing out a 3/4 is really not enough value for us in this deck. So this card's pretty bad until we see a 3 cost that's really good to play off of it. Next here, though, we have Robin is a 4/5 Odyssey character. It's going to read on play if you have 2 or more rested characters in play until the end of your opponent's next turn. All of your characters with the Odyssey or Straw Hat type cannot be KO'd by effects. This card's very, very, very good. Basically making your whole deck, because we're obviously running this Odyssey stuff, unable to be KO'd by effects is going to be insane, right? If we're assuming in OP09, RP Law is getting a massive nerf and not going to be the face of the meta anymore, Lucci might be like still up there, which means this card is going to need to be pretty much a 4-of staple, because just playing a card that says my whole board can't be KO'd, very similar to Sabo. Obviously, this is not a blocker like Sabo. It also has a stipulation, which is a bit rough, right? Sabo, you can say, is a bit stronger, right? He's a 5/6 blocker. Not only that, he draws 2 cards, and then he also just does this effect to the whole board regardless of what type they are. So, for that reason, obviously this is not a broken card, but I think it's going to be necessary in certain matchups for sure. Next up here, we have another 5-cost Odyssey Sanji. This is going to be 5/6 with 1,000 counter. It's going to read on KO, you may put the top or bottom card of your life into your hand. That is really bad. So this has to be a very strong effect. Play up to 1 cost 4 or lower character with the Odyssey or Straw Hat Crew type from trash into play as rested. Oof. This card's bad. I'm not going to lie. I do not see the benefit of playing this card. I think the only way you're playing this card is if you do not have enough good targets off of leader effect. Thank God this is a you may effect, because if this forced you to take a life, that would be really bad. We're a 4-life leader, so we don't want to be playing around with life like that willy-nilly. Especially just to play out a 4 cost. It's probably getting swung into afterwards, or KO'd by an effect or whatever else, so this card's abysmal. Do not want to look at that anymore. Next up here we have Crocodile. It's going to be a 4/5 with 1,000 counter Odyssey type, so another playable off leader effect. This is going to read, if your leader has Odyssey type, this character cannot be KO'd in battle by leaders. This card's interesting because you have to think, right, if you're playing a card out early, say you're doing it on curve, leader effect on 3 Dawn, you're playing a card out, it is now wide open to being attacked into. Your opponent would have just been on 2 Dawn, so most likely they didn't play anything that's going to swing on their next turn, so the leader is going to be all they have to swing with, which means this might be a pretty decent card to just slap down on your first turn, right? You cannot attack back into it, and now I'm going to have a 5k attacker for the next turn. And I ramped 1 Dawn, so pretty decent. I could see it as like a 2 or 3 of. Again, another card, though, that I don't think is making this archetype insane at all. And next up here, Odyssey is getting another SR. So 2 SRs for 1 type in a set is really, really good. And I think Odyssey is definitely one that needed it. This is also a 3 cost that is playable off that law that we looked at earlier. So let's go ahead and dive into this effect. It's going to be on play. You can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 card with the Odyssey type, and put it in your hand. So we have a 3/5 Searcher, very nice. Rest at the bottom as usual. And then it has another effect. End of your turn, if you have 3 or more rested characters in play, set this character as active. So pretty solid, honestly. This is a attacking Searcher, which is really nice, and also going to basically continuously restand itself as long as you're playing enough characters out on the board. So I really like this card. Definitely a card I think this archetype needed, especially if you're just playing these cards out of hand really quickly. You cannot play them as quickly out as like Iceberg can with the Dawn -1. You still do have to pay 3 Dawn. But I still do think this is a card that the deck needed, and maybe going to warrant playing that Law. We'll see. I think we might need one more good target, though. Next up here, getting to the events for this deck. We have Gum Gum Quattro Mono Jet Cross Shock Bazooka. That is like a mashup of all the Straw Hats attacks together. But this is going to be a 1 cost event with the Odyssey type, so searchable off of our limb here. And it's going to read, counter if your leader has the Odyssey type and you have 2 or more rested characters in play. Up to 1 of your leaders or characters gains 2,000 power for this turn. Oh, that card is so bad. What? Wait, why is this so bad? Did I read that right? If your leader has Odyssey type and you have 2 or more rested characters in play, up to 1 of your leader's characters gain... Oh, okay. I thought it was just for the battle. This is for the turn. Okay, it does have a few stipulations. You have to have 2 or more rested characters, which honestly isn't too hard. But after that, for 1 Dawn, you get to be a 7k leader for your opponent's turn, which sounds pretty good. Obviously, after the fact, you do have rested characters if you did that, so your opponent is probably just going to follow that up with attacking into characters instead. So it kind of just takes the heat off your face and puts it on your board. I don't know how good this card is. 1 for 2k for the turn sounds pretty strong, right? Like Dofi has a card like that. It's 2 for 2k for the turn. That card doesn't really get ran, so I wouldn't really be surprised if this didn't get ran either. Also, the art is just a screen cap from the game, which is pretty funny. Next up here, we have Thunder Lance, Flip Pound, Phoenix Shot, and another one of these combo moves. And this is going to be a 3 cost event that reads main. If you have 2 or more rested characters in play, that seems to be the stipulation for every single one of these cards. You can KO up to 1 of your opponent's cost 4 or lower characters. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say this card's bad, guys. Unfortunately, I just kind of think that... I don't know, 3 cost to KO 4 is not great. Like, there's a lot of cards that do a lot more than that for 3 Dawn. To be fair, it is any character. It is not like a rested character only like green usually is. So, could be a little helpful in that aspect. RP Law is still great. A lot of 4 costs in that deck. So I could see you maybe running this card for that reason, but realistically, like this just feels like a worse backlight in Uta for me. You know, one cost cheaper, sure it can KO an active character, but it's only a 4 cost. So I don't like this card, and God, if this deck has to run this card, it is not looking up, guys. Next up here, though, we have Portgas D Ace. Is going to be a 5/5 with 2k counter. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that might be the first 2k Odyssey counter we have seen in this deck, which, you know, we don't really love to see. But he's going to read on play. If you have 2 or more rested characters in play, rest up to one of your opponent's cost 5 or lower characters. For a 2k, this is really good, especially because it's a target that you can play off leader effect, and it has a body that is immediately going to be able to swing into their leader. So this card's great. Great addition to this deck. Really, really do like it. Next up here, we have Sabo. Sabo is going to be another 5/6 Odyssey character with 1000 counter. Going to read when attacking once per turn. If you have 3 or more rested characters in play, draw 1 card. Not bad. Having 3 or more is obviously a bit harder than 2 or more. I think 2 or more is pretty easy because you only have to have 1 other character on board. This one, you know, now we're requiring 2 more characters on board. That's a little more rough. But the fact that we're just pretty much drawing a card when attacking is pretty strong. This is a pretty removable body, though, I'm not going to lie. Which makes it a bit rough. But this is a card, looking at the support we've seen, I think we're going to need to run. And last up here, we have Rob Lucci, which is going to be just a 4/6 Odyssey Vanilla. Wow. Really, really tough. I mean, I don't think we've seen all the cards yet, but why would we not give them a 5/7 Vanilla? Like, are we too scared of playing a 7k on 3 Dawn? I don't think it would be that strong. Oof. I don't like to see that, guys, honestly. But with that being said, that is the entirety of this deck. So we just looked at, I think, basically all the support for this leader. There's going to be a bit more, I do not doubt it. But as far as my predictions go, this leader is not looking good. Being a 4-life leader is already a rough spot for you. Green and purple as a color combination is not very good. The only reason Gurple Dofi worked is because there was film cards in both, so it worked out that way. But honestly, at this point, I can't really see a reason we'd play this leader. I don't think there's really anything special. I think the downside of playing everything rested is kind of going to be big. Your opponent's never going to have to actually give you cards from life. You're always going to be forced to counter out. It's not like we're Blue Dofi who gets to attack into our leader and play rested characters from deck, mind you. This one plays from hand, and it is tap 3 Dawn. We're not doing any to attack. So, you know, I don't like this leader. We just looked at the majority of the support, so you guys can make your own decision on that. Do you think Lim is going to be good or bad in OP09? Mind you, stipulation, again, did not probably see all the support, but we did see both the SRs and a couple rares, so this is probably going to be the best Lim has to offer. So if you're looking forward to this leader, which fortunately I don't think many people were, it is not looking great. But with that being said, guys, this has been Jim with Awaken TCG. You guys have a great day. I'm going to head out of here. Peace.